Well, it's another edition here of Hude Progress Report. And as usual, we're here to highlight the steps being taken to solve the various problems that plague us as a people, talking about humanity as a whole. We will be focusing on how the Sustainable Development Goals are being pursued, efforts being made, and the progress so far achieved, and how much further we need to go. Welcome once again. This is Hude Progress Report, and I am Amadine Ogbewe. Thanks for joining us.
And I am Joanese. You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
And also with us here is Paul Oladipupo. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Amadine. Hi, Joan. How are you guys doing?
We're good. How are you, Paul?
Very well, thank you. It's a lovely morning.
Indeed.
It is.
Let's get to progress.
Indeed. You beat me to it. So, going straight into it, for our first news item of the day, the International Labour Organization, the ILO, and UNICEF have announced a significant global decline in child labor, with figures falling by 22 million from 160 million in 2000 to 138 million as of 2025. This was revealed recently at an event in Abuja to mark the World Day Against Child Labor. The theme was "Progress is clear, but there's more to do. Let's speed up efforts." Speaking at the event, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Mohammed Dingyadi, emphasized the government's commitment to listening to children's voices in shaping inclusive policies, while ILO Country Director Dr. Vanessa Fala stressed the need to distinguish between exploitative labor and age-appropriate work that contributes to children's growth. Despite the progress, officials highlighted the persistent challenges, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, where child labor prevalence has only marginally decreased. Dr. Fala revealed that over 54 million children globally remain in hazardous work, with many Nigerian children still engaged in unsafe jobs such as street hawking, domestic labor, and artisanal mining. The Nigeria Labour Congress, ECOWAS Commission, and other partners reaffirmed their resolve to end child labor through education, advocacy, and regional policy reforms. Stakeholders urged African governments to accelerate efforts to eliminate child labor and create environments where children can thrive. Well, on Hude Progress Report today, we're starting with good news.
Yes.
Though there's more to be done. This is always the case. 22 million saved or rescued, so to speak, or removed from that bad statistics, so to speak. It's not a place you want to be among. And we're saying that part of it also has to do with stakeholders collaborating. The people we had at that particular event involved ECOWAS, we had the NLC, which is very important because when we're talking about labor, particularly in Nigeria, the labor unions are the ones who agitate for better welfare, better remuneration. And in that instance, one of the key aspects of dignity in labor, or pardon me, of avoiding exploitative labor is the fact that you are using children. Children can't consent to things. You know, their parents are the ones who speak for them. So using them for labor, it's even, you know, in a number of places, is literally against the law. It's not just a moral thing where you choose to or thereabouts. So I think 22 million people being saved, while it's a huge number, we still see that over 100 million still remain in that bracket, which means the work still needs to continue, collaboration needs to continue, so children can be rescued from having to so swiftly live lives that are beyond them.
Well, you've actually gone through the right path, and I will just add up by saying that let's go back to the Constitution. I know I'm not a barrister, but it's very important for every citizen to know their Constitution. And let's go to the Child Rights Act of 2003, and it says that it defines child as someone who is below the age of 18 years. So it's quite appalling when you see children engaging in tedious work that it's emotionally draining, and it deprives them from going to school. And I'll still go back to the Constitution, which also talked about Section 15. I did my research and I saw that Section 15 actually talks about children having the rights to have free and compulsory quality education. So when that is not performed and when it doesn't come into reality in the lives of these kids, that's exploitation. That's a bad omen for them, and it's quite unfortunate when children are not going to school when they ought to, and instead of them to be in front of blackboards or chalkboards or carrying their books or reading, they're actually in the street hawking, or they are actually the factory mining, doing things that are beyond their strength. So it's according to the stakeholders we had there. The Minister of Labour, he said something very interesting, and I quote him. He said, "Today we are not just talking about you," he's referring to the children. "We are listening to you, learning from you, and working with you to build a country where every child can grow up safe, educated, and full of dreams that can translate to reality." And following with the theme of the conference, progress is clear, but there's more to do. Let's speed up efforts. This is something that every stakeholder needs to understand. Every president, every governor, everybody, including individuals, NGOs, civil societies, private individuals, everybody needs to come together to say, okay, let us reduce more numbers and eradicate it totally and make sure that everything is fine. So it's a good start, but we still have more work to do.
Exactly. It's a good start, and it's really nice to see that numbers are dropping. But regardless, I want to point out some things very clear. Usually, there's always the line between age appropriation and also what is actually child exploration. And I think it's very safe if we could define it as such that basically, children, fine, you could get your children to work and all of that, but it should in no way interfere with their education, their health, or their development. So if, for example, you are putting your child through any strenuous kind of work, and also it should be non-hazardous, meaning that there should be no hazard attached to it, meaning that working at home, for example, sweeping, washing clothes, or washing the dishes, there are things that are still normal. But when you go outside of that, probably like hawking for a child, it becomes too strenuous. You also mentioned working in factories, working at the mines. All of these things are beyond things that a child should be doing. And so I think that has been a debate here and there. But over the years, we've seen that usually in communities of low income, we see some of these things being portrayed. They're probably hawking here and there. And the parents always see the children as a means of survival, basically. And I think if we could look at policies around that to be able to mitigate this, it will really help in reducing the number of child labor that we have. But let's take a look at our verified voices today, which is from ILO. It has a very interesting facts there, talking about what are the percentage of children that are usually involved in child labor. According to data, agriculture remains the largest sector for child labor, accounting for 61% of cases, followed by services and industry. #end child labor. And it goes down there to break it down, talking about with a particular picture. They're breaking all of these things down, talking about agriculture, the industries, and also services. And we could see from all of these age gaps, that's from age 11 to from age 5 to 11, we have 68% there in agriculture. 12 to 14, also 61% in agriculture, and also 15 to 17, 41%, which are all large numbers, also in agriculture. I'm rounding up total of everything to an average of 61% of children in this. And then we have 13% in industries and 27% in services. And it shows how much of these children we see in agriculture being on the farm for a long period of times, and also how much of those children are in the industries, and also how much of those children are in services. And also, I think most people try to say that if I own a store, for example, and I sell probably groceries, for example, and that I cannot have my child around me selling with me. Well, you can have your child around you, but usually it has to be under supervision. And again, just like I've mentioned earlier on, it should not interfere with their development, their health, or their education. So meaning that your child shouldn't be with you at your supermarket while it's time for school. So I think school times across the country, across the world is usually around 8 to 2 or 4 in some cases. So if your child is found with you on a day of school where your child should be in school, then you are now it now becomes child exploration, basically.
Exploitation.
Exactly.
Indeed. And I think also it's about balancing the cultural aspects with the more humanitarian, human rights aspect, because traditionally, a lot of Africans believe that children should help around. So when you take it to a farm, a person who owns a farm feels, well, this is the work I do. My child should also be a part of it. But they have to find the fine ground, just as you've said.
Exactly.
Is it affecting their development? Is it within a time where they should be doing things that children ought to be doing that enables them grow and do better? If it is, then perhaps it's time for you to, cut it down and move on and find other ways to
I think
help
the point
yourself.
here is more like you should know where to cut the line, where to put a boundary to all of these things. There should always be a boundary at every point in time, so that you are not moving from a stage where your child is just helping you. I mean, there was this video that was trending at a point in time here in Nigeria of a mother who took her child to work and all of that, and so it's very controversial at the end of the day. But it turns out that your child can actually help you at work, but it should not interfere with their education, development, or health.
All right. Well done, Paul. We move to the next news item we have. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has led a strategic media dialogue in Duse, Jigawa State, aimed at promoting child-sensitive budget and planning as a tool to combat child malnutrition. The event convened media professionals, government officials, and civil society groups to foster collective action on the welfare of children in the state. Speaking at the event, Rahama Farah, chief of UNICEF's Kano Field Office, stressed the importance of deliberate, equitable, and accountable budgeting practices that are rooted in international and national child rights frameworks, including the Domesticated Child Rights Act of 2003. Jigawa State Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Babangida Umar, affirmed the government's commitment to prioritizing children's needs in development plans, revealing efforts to establish specialized units in ministries to combat child malnutrition more effectively. Civil society also pledged its support, with Shoaibu Kafingana, chairman of the Jigawa State Coalition of Civil Societies, emphasizing the need for multi-sectoral collaboration to monitor and implement child-focused programs. The dialogue served as a pivotal moment in shaping a more inclusive and accountable approach to child development in Jigawa State. Well, this is what we're talking about. We have actually entered into the angle of malnutrition and, eradicating it and making sure that we need to curb this out. And let me just go back a bit. Around 2021, 4,000 children died in Jigawa State, and it's quite a huge number to lose. And also in 2024, the UNICEF actually brought up a program called the Ready to Use Therapeutic Food. And this basically is designed to treat severe acute malnutrition. And this was something that was brought to Jigawa State. And this is coming to 2025 as well, where we're seeing UNICEF also coming to involve themselves again in making sure that this malnutrition needs to be eradicated. And if we don't treat this and if we don't take this out of the state, the children continues to suffer and will continue to lose more lives. Remember this particular saying that the children are our future. And imagine when our future, we are losing our future in the present. Who are we going to meet later, or who is going to continue after us? So it's very important that this particular malnutrition is being addressed, and people tend to feed well, they tend to eat right, they tend to eat quality food, and also have their health in check, because when the children suffers, our future suffers. So that's it for me.
Indeed, I believe the collaboration here is always a welcome one, where we see pardon me, an international organization coming in with expertise and advice and experience to states to ensure that they can achieve some of the things that they are doing on the international level. As always, I think the goal is always to ensure a sustainable system where more aid is not necessarily required. And so when we talk about budgeting and making it child friendly, it's talking about tailoring things to the situations on ground. So I think it's already something that has taken steps to be inclusive and accountable. And when it comes to development of children in Jigawa State. So we hope to see how this turns out. UNICEF is always, when it comes to children, obviously, no one needs to tell you that. But the collaboration now also entails monitoring and implementing these child-focused programs. So watch out for that. And I think one of the takeaways there was also that the role of the media is not just to report, but also to be a part of it. It's almost like moving now into development communications where you're not just a bystander, you're an active partner. So let's hope that all partners join hands to help the children of Jigawa and beyond.
I mean, it's no doubt there are so many partners that are helping UNICEF right there, not just in Jigawa, also in northern Nigeria. Recently, I read a report of how, I think that was sometime last year, 2024, where about 4.4 million children were affected by malnutrition. And that was double of the previous year. And it's really sad to see that these numbers keep increasing. And I think it's not just Jigawa that is the issue here when it comes to malnutrition. Other surrounding states as well also face similar issues. States like Katsina, also the Bay states, that's Borno, Yobe, and also Adamawa, they also face something similar. So it would be very nice to see. We're talking about the budgets being more child-friendly. Also, one of the things we also look at as well is tracking of implementation. Even after the budget must have been put in place, we should try to track down the implementation of this to ensure that every money, whatever is allocated, whatever funds are allocated to this certain reason is actually done. There should be results. There should always be results. And it's so many foundations are actually on ground supporting UNICEF on this particular mission to end malnutrition right here in northern Nigeria.
Yeah, just to lend my voice to that before you go to the verified voice, you talked about several partners. We have Bill Gates and Melinda's Foundation.
Exactly.
We have the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office. They are also there. And this is also a call for other foundations as well to key into this, not just in Jigawa State, but also in other states that are also affected. So I think that's a good one there.
I mean, it's an open call, and it's a very sad one, really, but it's an open call to all humanitarian and also development NGOs really to help out there, because it's really sad to see that children are dying from something very preventable. Quickly, let's take a look at our verified voices. This one is from UNICEF, still talking on this issue of malnutrition in children. It states that as humanitarian funding decreases, children in Eastern and Southern Africa face preventable deaths from malnutrition and lack of clean water. Many will miss out on critical services that protect them from harm and abuse. UNICEF is committed to stay and deliver. # for every child. I think this is, we're in times where funding is really a big thing. Everyone needs funds to support here and there for developments, for humanitarian aid. And, these are trying times for UNICEF themselves, as they are still even needing more funds, because the numbers keep increasing day after day. And it's really sad to see that numbers are increasing. Well, in real sense, they should be reducing at this point in time. But we really hope in the coming days, we will see more reduction in terms of number of nutrition of children, especially children, because it's very sad. We're talking about children under the age of 5 dying from something that is very preventable, such as malnutrition. Is really, really sad.
Indeed, you've said it all there. We'll go on a break now, and when we return, we'll delve into our final news item of the day. Welcome back, and now to our final news item. We have that the International Labour Organization, ILO, has unveiled a cutting-edge digital platform, the Decent Working Supply Chains Evidence Hub, designed to promote fair and sustainable labor practices in global supply chains. Launched from Geneva in July 2025, the hub transforms over a decade of ILO research, spanning more than 500 publications, into accessible insights for policymakers, employers, workers, organizations, and development partners. Leveraging generative AI supported by human oversight, the platform features plain language, summaries, and interactive tools, and also thematic overviews and evidence maps to help users identify gaps, shape policy, and design targeted interventions. Dan Rees, the director of ILO's Priority Action Program on Decent Work in Supply Chains, described the platform as a smarter, more strategic way to turn research into real-world impact. Developed in collaboration with the International Training Center of the ILO, the hub reflects the organization's commitment to evidence-based action that supports decent work worldwide. With its user-friendly interface and emphasis on informed policymaking, the hub is expected to serve as a key resource in building more equitable global trade and investment systems. I remember speaking to a software engineer or a developer, and he spoke about how an AI is only as good as the pool of materials with which you train it, basically. And when we see what's happening here, the ILO has done so much work, so much important work as when related to labor, fair labor, decent work, and all of that. So when you have a system that aggregates all that work, is basically, you could say, a dream come true for policymakers. Because you speak to a lot of people who make decisions and they say, a lot of things I have to do is sift through documents and sign documents and find what's needed. So when you have everything basically handed to you on a platter, where you only have to now navigate to find out what information you need to make your policies better, stronger, more fitting for you, then it's a win already. You're half the job is almost done, so to speak. And so it's something we talk about when we meant to talk about artificial intelligence and how well it could be utilized for the good of man. And we're seeing that being done here. But, I guess I should add a little bit of a caveat or maybe a little warning. As with other sorts of LLMs and other sorts of artificial intelligence, you still need that human element to make it function properly. So it is not just to say, pick what has been aggregated and then you walk around with it. You still have to refine. Sometimes, some of these artificial intelligence chat boxes can give you, false information or wrong information, so to speak. And then continuous prompting is what leads to results. So I would say that while it helps policymakers, it's also not an opportunity or an excuse for them to, for lack of a better word, become lazy, so to speak. What the artificial intelligence has done for you is to make your work that much easier, more organized. Smarter. Yes, but you still need to do the strategizing, the thinking, the out of the box, methodologies and, trying to proffer solutions. So I think the positives are there, and it's just to take care so that whatever negatives might come are easily minimized and eliminated.
I really laugh at people whenever they say AI is here to stay and it's going to take up everybody's jobs. Well, I totally agree with that, because I believe that, yes, AI is here to make the work smarter, to make it easier for wider reach and all, but we still need the personal expertise to be on guard, because anything can happen at any time, so that this particular person can be there to correct any misinformation that is likely to go out there. But I'll come from a different angle. I just want to throw more light on supply chains. And supply chains, as we all know, it's all about the process of production, from the raw materials to transforming it and producing it to something consumable, and then taking it to the store for the final consumers to come and pick it up. And, for AI to be there, or for ILO to establish a hub like that to ensure that there's a decent work in supply chains. And also, one of the sects, there are 4 sects in the supply chain line or about decent work, and one of it is freedom to bargain, that's organized, and we also have freedom of child labor. We have freedom from discrimination. right? And we also have freedom. I think there are 4. So that is freedom from forced labor. So I'll come to the angle of discrimination and child labor, which we've actually talked about. Discrimination whereby the woman is not meant to work in a place, and people, the whole gender inequality and all. It's quite alarming, and it's something that ILO needs to really focus on. That that's exactly why this hub was created, to make sure that there's a wider reach, to ensure that, okay, this particular place, there is a work fairness there. This other place, there is no work fairness, and they will know how to address that particular issue in those areas. So it's quite important to ensure that there are decent work environments for people to enjoy their work, to avoid less toxicity, and also make sure that they are also earning well.
Indeed.
To make sure that, okay, these people are fine and they are also doing well in their jobs, because it's quite unfortunate when someone is putting in enough effort and the person is not being recognized well, and the environment is not even conducive, and also there's discrimination in that particular place. So it's something that needs to be well checked with the AI, of course, with the expertise on it.
I know AI is everywhere. Like I always say, it's even right from, I think that was 2023 when AI was getting its popularity in Africa. I will always mention that very soon AI is going to be in every field, every sector, and now we're seeing it play out everywhere, and as everyone sees as an aid actually, and it assists us actually, and that's what it is. But I think one definition that we are actually yet to come to terms with yet is decent work. So what does it mean for someone to have a decent work? It means that you have a fair wage, meaning that the work you are doing is commensurate to the amounts that are being paid, and also for you to have decent work, you should be socially protected. That's talking about healthcare, social security, and the likes. Also, there should be safe working conditions. You should both physical and also mental. You shouldn't, just like you mentioned, toxic environments shouldn't be a workplace. Also, you should also respect labor rights. Every country has its labor rights. Also, there are international standards for labor rights as well. Also, there should be opportunities for personal development, meaning that as a staff, there should also be room for you to also develop as a person, and that is what this is actually doing. And now this AI, now the major goal basically is to drive home the point that fine, research has been done over the years, but now let us bring all of these things that we've seen, the factors that makes a particular job not be decent, and what are the outcomes, and then it brings them to a map, and also helps researchers and also policymakers to see everything on a very simple scale. I mean, and it is very accessible. It is easy to use. Usually, when you go to the hub, it will describe to you. It will usually have this pop-up box that describes to you step by step each of the segments, and it just makes it very understandable for you. And just like you have said, it is AI. Even after AI must have given you a particular result, you also should take your result and work on it. It's a platform for you to just get information easily and then work on those results that you've gotten from AI. Quickly, let's take a look at our verified voices to see what our verified voices say on this particular topic. It's an interesting conversation talking about decent work. This is from ILO Asian Pacific. It says a global movement, the cooperative solution. The July 5th is the landmark Corps Day, as it's celebrated during the second at UN International Year of Corps, where we can advance decent work and social justice the corporate way. And it goes on from a statement from the ILO Director General, which states that cooperatives deliver sustainable solutions across sectors and regions for productive employment, decent work, social inclusion, and economic resilience. And I mean, that's what the corporate world is known for, bringing everybody on board, everyone on board. I mean, you mentioned gender disparity earlier on, and it's really amazing. There are some places of work where as a woman, you can't proceed again once you get to a certain stage just because you are a woman. And these are the issues and these are the things we're trying to fight against. And those are the things that SG8 directly attacks.
Indeed. Thank you so much. That's how we will be rounding off the program for today. We have been taking a look at our Hude progress reports and trying to chart a course on the progress being made on the go to achieving sustainable development. Do join us next time, but bye for now. I am Amadine Ogbewe. Goodbye.
And I am Joan Eze. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.
And I'm Paul Olakupo. Thanks for watching.